Hello, lovely people. Welcome to the first book chat of 2022. And I realise it's taken me until February to get to this point. And I'm sure I have an excuse for it somewhere, but here we go. February. So, how has your reading year started? And how do you start it? Do you start the year with a plan? Do you have a list of like how many books you want to read, or what genres you want to read, or what authors, or how do you go about it? Mostly I'm fascinated by this because I am desperately disorganized and also a complete mood reader. So when it comes to reading, it's just whatever, whatever comes up. So I'm always really interested by people who actually have reading goals and stick to them. It's amazing. So if you do, let me know below in the comments. And yeah, I'd be really interested to know what you've read so far this year and what you've enjoyed and what your plans are for reading for the rest of the year. Obviously, I have no plans other than I will read whatever happens to come up. So at the end of last year, I kind of had this really good and rather necessary plan that I would not be buying any more books, on my Kindle at least, because I went through my Kindle and I had over 400 unread books on there. A lot of read books as well, but over 400 unread. And now, to be fair, a fair percentage of those were ones which I started and didn't finish, didn't enjoy, but just haven't marked as read or haven't done anything with them. They're just there. And some of them are ones which I have read before or that I think I'm going to read again and so I've rebought or something like that. So there is a certain percentage there, but mostly I'm kind of making up excuses because the majority of them are ones that I've gone, oh look, shiny new book, one click. And I really need to take the one click setting off my Amazon account because it is really, really bad for me and very bad for my poor little Kindle, which I don't know how many books a Kindle can hold, but I'm pretty sure mine's starting to approach critical mass right about now. So anyway, my intention was to carry this through into 2022. That has not worked. That has not worked in the slightest. Every single book that I'm going to talk about in this video were new purchases. Not new books necessarily, but new books for me, because I have no self-control when it comes to books anyway. Yes, so that has not gone so well so far this year. I am intending to reinstate the book buying ban, but I keep getting these emails through from book clubs and things. I'm like, oh, but look at the books, look at them. So I should probably unsubscribe from those as well if I'm serious about that. So we'll think about it. I'm not going to rush into these things. Anyway, let's start with the books. So I'm just going to talk about a few here because obviously we are into February. I have actually read more books than the three that box set and two others I'm going to talk about here. But obviously there's been the usual range of ones which I didn't finish or ones which are just a bit one which was really interesting for me was years ago I read a Bryce Courtney book, and it was April Fool's Day, which is about his son who contracted AIDS, and it was heartbreaking. It was beautifully written, but it was heartbreaking. And because I'm not big on books that are heartbreaking, I can only take so many of them. I actually never read a Bryce Courtney book again. And my dad and his girlfriend kept saying how good they are and how awesome they are, and they're just amazing stories. And so I ended up getting one for Christmas. And I really want to read another one now, even though I didn't finish that one, because the writing was really good. It was one of those, he's just such a good storyteller. He draws you straight into the book. But the book itself didn't grab me, and it was just the subject. It was I forgot what they're called now. Essentially a life story. And all the bits which I thought would be really interesting were skipped over, and the bits which I didn't think were that interesting were gone into in really, a lot of detail. So I kind of ran out of steam on that one, but I'm definitely going to be trying another one. So that's another question for you. Have you done that before, where you found a book and you really like the writing style but you don't like the subject itself, and have you then gone on to read more by that author? Because I'm quite curious about that, so let me know below if you have. Okay, there'll be a list of questions at the end. No, there won't, but so right, I shall talk first about the DCI Logan collection by J.D. Kirk, simply because that's the one on my Kindle first. Now, a fantastic friend of mine, Sam, had told me about these and said, absolutely amazing author, great books, got to read them, got to read them, got to read them. So I bought the first one last year sometime and I read it and I was like, yeah, good police procedural, well written, enjoyed the story. Police procedural. It's in Scotland, that's cool, there's a bit of humour in it, that's good as well. Just didn't really grip me. As mentioned before, I am a massive mood reader. And I will often do this where a book won't quite grab me, but I'll be like, oh, yeah, all right. And then I'll go back to it another time, or I'll read another by the same author. I'll be like, oh, this is amazing, this is the best thing ever, I must read all of these. And that is exactly what has happened, because completely coincidentally, my cousin started reading these, and then she started sending me little messages, and there'd be snippets of the book, and it'd be like, what's this Scottish word? Ask your dad what this word is. My dad's Scottish. So I'd ask Dad. I'm 99% sure he made up the definitions half the time. But they were good definitions. We don't fact check these things around here. And then I kept getting questions like, what's iron brew? Have you had iron brew? Why is everyone drinking iron brew? So in the end I was like, okay, right, I've got to give these books a go again. So I picked up the box set. I'd already read the first book, so I promptly devoured the other two within a week. Within a few days really, because they're just good. They're fast, they're entertaining, they're well written. There are a few bits from the first book which didn't reappear in the second book, like that sort of hatred of said as a dialogue tag. And while I know you can have too many saids, your characters don't need to be ejaculating all the time. It's one of those ones that really pulls me out of the story. I was like, you could say something else there, really. I don't. I realise I'm a 12-year-old, but no. They were ejecting in these stories a lot, but it's still weird, but it's better than ejaculating. So, yeah, that was much toned down, and I had great fun reading the second two. Did know who done it from pretty early on, to be honest, or had a good idea anyway, but getting there is more than fun enough to make up for that. I'm not one of these people who reads things going, I just want to know what the mystery is and I'm trying to work it out ahead of them. If I work it out, great, but if the story's entertaining, perfectly happy not to either way. And that's what these were for me. So, DCI Jack Logan collection, first 3 books, thoroughly enjoyed it. Have now got my dad's girlfriend hooked on them as well, so there we go. Spread the book love. Okay, next one. If my Kindle's going to talk to me. Kindle doesn't want to talk to me. Car going past. You may notice I'm sitting in a kind of a weird space in the garden. That's actually the road just over there. We've had days and days of rain. It's been really humid, grey, and I haven't been able to swim because there's just been so much runoff in the water. So I've been running, and it's been like running through a tropical rainforest. I swear, you step outside the door and you just start sweating. And by the time you've been running for an hour, you just come back and you can't tell what's rain and what's from running through undergrowth and what's just you sweating. So that was then broken by a tropical cyclone over the weekend, which we didn't get a full hit. It wasn't like a proper cyclone. We got quite a bit of wind and we got some rain. There's lots of branches and stuff down, and half the garden's kind of lying on its side going, what happened? So I found the most complete bit of garden I could for you. There we go. Thinking about my setting. Background or whatever you call it. Okay, Hoard All Before by Tammie Painter. Now you may recall from one of my previous book chat videos that I had read her The Undead Mr. Tenpenny, which is the start of a different series of hers. Really enjoyed it. Good fun read, lots of good humour. Yeah, so awesome book. Recommend that one. This is the second of hers I've read, and this is the start of a new series for her. This is quite a new release, and in fact this is my art copy. I'm on the art team for that one. So it's the first in a circus of unusual creatures, a mystery, and it's set in this. It's got the feel of a travelling carnival, a travelling circus from like the 1930s. That sort of image in your head of it. And it's all sideshows and obviously some not what we would not have these days, freak shows and that kind of thing. But it's all magical creatures, which kind of gives it a lovely little twist. So there's like a chain-smoking unicorn who's also always looking for maidens, not really too worried if they're maidens, but he just wants a shapely lap to lay his head on. There's the centaur who's into making all the herbal concoctions. There's brownies, there's boggarts, there's loads. And the main character is Duncan, who is a dragon who's pyrophobic, unfortunate, and is really, really likes omelets. That's kind of his thing, is omelets. Obviously we have a murder, and now they've got to solve it. It was really good. It was a really engaging story. The only thing I'd say is it's a little bit slow getting going, because a lot of it's world building to start off with. But the world building is interesting. So I didn't find, although I did find that, yeah, it did slow things down. It was interesting. So you weren't sitting there going, oh, come on, get on with it. It was all really interesting. So yeah, Hoard It All Before by Tammie Painter. Grab that, and if you haven't read any of her Undead Miss Tenpenny series, can't remember the actual name of the series now, but that's the first book in it. Grab those as well, because yeah, that's a really good read too. And then you can go and stalk her on Instagram like I have. Sorry, Tammie. Come on, Kendall. Come on, Kendall. Okay. So, and the last one I'm going to talk about, because yeah, these are the ones I'm talking about this month, won't come up. Time Binge by Martina Fetzer. So this was kind of a weird one, because it was one that popped up. I was like, oh yeah, you know, it looks interesting. And then it had, by the award-winning, with a little asterisk next to it, Martina Fetzer. I was like, award-winning, I don't know why there's an asterisk there. So you scroll down, and the asterisk says, won perfect attendance award at grammar school these 3 years, or something like that. But it was a school award for perfect attendance anyway. I was like, oh, yeah, that's my sense of humour. I have to get the book. Which is the first, I have to say, is the first time the author bio has ever actually sold me on buying a book. Normally I don't really care, but that was very, very funny. And the book is very, very funny. It's the basic setup is you've got two detectives who they're part of kind of this paranormal investigation bureau. They're a little bit shady, called the, I completely forgot the name. If I go searching for it, I'll be here forever. Anyway, they're part of this government authority who are paranormal investigators. And time travel is like one of the worst things. They've got all these levels of various disaster, and time travel's right up there because of its potential to rip reality apart. And so obviously they encounter a time machine. It's a bit of a mad story. It's time travel. Things are jumping around all over the place. I did enjoy it. It was a fun read. I will read the next ones, but I'm not kind of rushing to get there. And I think part of that is due to the rules of time travel in this universe. I never quite felt that there was a huge danger. I sort of felt everything was going to get fixed. There wasn't that sort of niggling doubt at the back of your mind going, oh, are they going to manage, kind of thing. So I think they lacked a little bit there, but that also might be just me being really overly picky, because the characters were good, the humour was good. There's some just brilliant, bizarre moments in there. In fact, I'm going to read you this one quote in case you're not, if you're on the blog, it's in the blog. But otherwise, I highlighted this because it just, and this is a beautiful line. I love this line. Like both men's youths, it was a beautiful disaster. I love that. That's so cool. But this is the one that I popped in the blog. We saved this whole damn city from the Goblin King, Smith said. That was true. Upon learning about the prophecy of Clacon and the inevitable rise of the Goblin King that would plunge the world into darkness, suspicion turned to David Bowie. Agents Brooks and Smith were the ones who determined that it was Steve Buscemi all along. They appropriately ended his reign of terror by shoving him into a wood chipper. The actor who purports to be Steve Buscemi to this day is a changeling who owed the two men a favour. It's quite early on in the book. You're just like, what? So those are kind of my favourite bits of the book, with these just mad little asides, and I almost sort of preferred to learn more about some of these strange cases that she mentions than the actual story here. But it was a good story, and yeah, I would pick up the next in the series. And if you like time travel, and some, yeah, quite bad jokes in the dialogue and that sort of thing, then yeah, I recommend it. So those are my books so far this year, which is really a bit pathetic, but I have read more. I just either didn't finish them or didn't enjoy them. But that is 3 really good reads to get the year off to a good start, so I'm quite happy with that. And now over to you, lovely people. Let me know your reading plans. Let me know what your favourite books are that you've read so far this year. Yeah, let me know if you've done that thing of revisiting an author who you didn't like one book of theirs, but maybe you decided to try another one and you discovered you had a new favorite author or something like that. And yes, I will see you next time. Until then, yeah, may your books be plentiful and your beverage either hot or cold as you prefer it to be. And we shall see you next time. Happy reading.